Festive Road was quiet. There was nobody about at all. A van appeared. It stopped by the pavement and sounded a tune. At number 52, Mr. Benn looked out of his window. The street, which had been empty, was now alive with children. The van was an ice cream van, and the children queued for their ice creams. For a while, Mr. Benn watched. Then he went in from the window. By the time Mr. Benn came to his front door, wearing his hat and coat, the van had gone. Mr. Benn went for a walk. His walk took him to a special costume shop, a shop that adventures could start from. Inside the shop, as if by magic, the shopkeeper appeared. "Good morning, sir," he said. "Which costume would you like to try today?" "This one," said Mr. Benn, and pointed to the white clothes of a cook. In no time, he had taken the outfit into the changing room. Mr. Benn changed into the cook's clothes and smiled at himself in the mirror. Then he went through the door that always led him to an adventure. Outside the door, Mr. Benn found himself beside some children. They were thin, and their clothes just rags. Mr. Benn was in a dingy back street. He walked along the street and saw other children just as poor as the first ones. After a while, Mr. Benn turned into a side street. In the street were other cooks, all talking about going to the palace. Mr. Benn followed them. The cooks walked past the palace guards. And through the palace doors. Finally, they came to a huge kitchen where other cooks were already busy. The king's servant spoke to the new cooks. "In the other room is the Princess Annabella. She will not eat. She just refuses. We want you to cook something that will make her want to eat. We've tried all these," and he pointed to food arranged on a table. "Now, get to work." Mr. Benn stood back and watched the other cooks. They fetched, poured, roasted, pounded, iced, boiled, and tasted for all they were worth. Each cook made his favorite food. As soon as one was ready, everyone would stop what they were doing. The cook was proudly led off, carrying his food. But before long, the cook, still carrying the food, would return, looking very sad, because the princess would not eat it. The others would go back to their fetching, pouring, roasting, pounding, icing, boiling, tasting, and so on, until another cook was ready to take his food to the princess. But the princess did not eat it. On the table, the pile of food grew and grew and grew. But still the princess would not eat. As the next cook went in, Mr. Benn found a place where he could peep through into the other room. In the other room was a long table. At the far end of it sat a worried-looking king and a worried-looking queen, and a princess who didn't seem to be interested in anything. Then another cook came through the door. The king and the queen said things like, "Oh, how lovely. Doesn't that look nice, Annabella? Now eat up if you want to be beautiful like your mummy." After which Annabella said, "No." The king looked at the queen. The queen looked at the servant looked at the cook, and they all looked at Annabella. The cook picked up the food and carried it away. Back in the kitchen, the servant said, "What shall we do? We've tried apples, bacon, cake, donuts, Easter eggs, fish fingers, and everything else we can think of. She just won't eat." There's nothing wrong with the food," said Mr. Benn. "I have an idea if the king will let me try it." The king didn't even wait to hear the idea. He said, "Yes, anything, just get her to eat." Mr. Benn ran out of the palace. Back in the kitchen, the cooks prepared more food and laid the long table for a feast, and then prepared even more food. Mr. Benn went back to the dingy street he'd seen before. He called the hungry children together and said, "You're all invited to a feast at the palace. Ask your parents if you can come and meet me back here." Later, Mr. Benn returned to the palace with the children. They passed through the palace entrance and along the corridors until they reached the room where the feast was. Mr. Benn said, "Children, help yourselves." They didn't have to be asked twice. After a while, a boy offered Annabella a plate of cakes. She took one. She ate it. Then another. And then some jelly. And soon she was tucking into the food just like the other children. Mr. Benn's plan had worked. The princess turned to the king. "Daddy," she said, "can they come back again next week?" "Of course, dear," said the king. "They can come back every week." A man suddenly appeared beside Mr. Benn and said, "Would you take this back to the kitchen for me, please?" And he gave Mr. Benn a wooden spoon. Mr. Benn did as he was asked, but as he went through the door, instead of the kitchen, he found himself back in the changing room of the shop. He took a last look at himself as a cook and then changed. Back in the shop, Mr. Benn returned the cook's outfit. "What shall I do with this wooden spoon?" he asked. "You can keep that, sir," said the shopkeeper. "Thank you," said Mr. Benn. I hoped you'd say that." From the door, he waved goodbye. Back in Festive Road, the usual street things were going on. The children there didn't look hungry. At his gate, Mr. Benn remembered the wooden spoon in his pocket. He smiled and thought, "I'll keep it safely with my other souvenirs."